Hignett corner, beyond Bent. Janssen! And Blackburn Rovers are 18 minutes away from a Premiership return.
As far as Stewart, just outside the penalty area, clips it central for David Dunn. David Dunn equalises! It just had to be. Dax corner and it goes. Glad towards goal! And Rovers have taken the lead! And Charlie Mulgrew has scored his 14th of the season. It may well be the goal that sends Rovers back into the Championship.
Good evening, Rovers fans, and welcome to another live edition of On the Other Side, live with me, Ryan Hildred from Rovers Chat. And I have to say, I've got some very stiff competition tonight as the under-23s are currently beating Liverpool. So thank you for those of you that are tuning into On the Other Side, because I know that the under-23s playing well at the moment is probably the better thing to watch tonight. But hey, Rovers finally got their first win in 8 games last time out, as we all but secured Championship safety, as we came from behind to beat Derby County 2-1 at Ewood Park last Friday night. So hopefully we can just relax a little bit now and enjoy those final 4 games of the season. And next up, it is a trip to Hillsborough as we take on Sheffield Wednesday tomorrow evening. And I'm delighted to be joined by Sheffield Wednesday fan Dan. How are you doing tonight, Dan?
How's it going, Ryan? Thanks a lot for having me.
Yeah, no, thank you for joining us on this Monday night. Not the most convenient on a Monday, but hey-ho, good to have you on board. Rovers fans joining us this evening. If you are subscribed to our YouTube channel, please make sure you've got all notifications turned on with that bell icon. Please give this video a huge like and all of our other videos a like across the channel as well. And Super Chat is available tonight, as it always is. But just a couple of reminders. We are sponsored by Blue Rose Capital, who are available on LinkedIn and Facebook now. And we are sponsored by 6yardsout.com.
The Rovers Chat YouTube channel is proudly sponsored by 6yardsout.com. They've got retro football from every era with mugs, phone cases and much more. They also have plenty of Rovers goods, including apparel with the famous 94-95 season and this season's kit. Check them out using the link in the description below.
Thank you to our very kind sponsors, Blue Rose Capital and 6yardsout.com. So, Dan, we didn't manage to speak to a Sheffield Wednesday fan earlier on in this season because the game was on Boxing Day, so we didn't do a show on Christmas Day. We gave everyone a day off. So I just want to talk about just the off-field saga first and foremost. You obviously started the season with a 12-point deduction, which was later halved to 6 points in November time. So what's the story behind the deduction and how do the fans feel about it?
I think we were initially given the 12-point deduction because of the lateness of our accounts, the state of the accounts, the mess that they were in, and the reason we got 6 back is because we were liaising with somebody from the EFL, who then left, and Rick Parry doesn't like us for obvious reasons that I'll let you Google that I don't want to get into now, and so we had to go to literally some kind of court case. I don't know what court it was. And we got given 6 points back. And our chairman at this point said, we're probably going to get the other 6 back. You know, that was November. It's now April. We're staring down the barrel of relegation. 7 points clear of safety. 6 points have been mint right now. But, you know, there's no sign of them coming back.
No sign at all. So even though he's made that statement, no sign at all, we think that's it.
He makes a lot of statements. You know, he needs to stay off the crack for breakfast, if I'm honest. You know what I mean? There's some absolute noise coming out of our director's box quite a lot. It's a difficult one with Sheffield Wednesday this season because we are a circus right now. But you know, if I put a diplomatic spin on it, there's an element of being one of those clubs that have gone for it and then not made it. You know what I mean? It's been, 5 years since we were at the 90 minutes away from Premier League football, and it's been a saga going down ever since because we went for it, we spent the money, and it's just not sustainable once you've done that. And I think, you know, you guys did it a few years ago. Derby, Forest, Birmingham have all done the same type of thing. And it's a 5-year, 6-year rebuild once you've gone for it and failed.
Yeah. Yeah, and you've kind of answered my next question with that, but I'll ask it anyway. Obviously, with that deduction, all the financial issues that surround that, I think you've had a transfer embargo like Rovers have in the past as well. So it has been that steep decline since those 2 consecutive playoff finishes that you had. So were you expecting a relegation battle this season, or, is it the points deduction that's to blame for that?
We were expecting a poor season. Our chairman did warn us that there wasn't rosy times ahead about 2 or 3 years ago. The point deduction itself, we thought, it's not going to be that big an issue. We've got some good players because our chairman doesn't like selling anybody, and a lot of these players went to Wembley, and a lot of these players went to the semi-final the following year. So, it's going to be okay. We're going to be fine. We'll probably go for a mid-table mediocrity and all the rest of it. I think it's taken more of a toll than what we anticipated because we didn't have a very good manager in Gary Monk at the time. We didn't, and then we went to Tony Pulis, and then we've gone to Darren Moore, who we'll get into later on. I think the 12-point deduction obviously puts off any potential signings that you might get going forward. You know what I mean? Hey, come and sign for us. What, you lot at the bottom with the 12 points? You're all right. Thanks very much. Do you know what I mean? And we didn't think it was going to be that much of an issue because we believed that there were worse teams in the league than us. And that didn't happen.
No. And you've touched on managers. You have had 3 this season. It is a season of turmoil. So 3 managers maybe is unsurprising. So you started the season with Gary Monk. This was his 2nd full season in charge or meant to be. Sacked on the 9th of November, and you were just joint bottom of the table at that point, but with the points deduction, which I think was at 12 points at that stage as well. Mm-hmm. So what was the view on the job that Monk did? Were you happy that he got sacked? What was the view?
Gary Monk was a dreadful signing to start with, but you just think, it's one of those merry-go-round championship signings that you're going to get, and he'll be here a year and then off he'll pop. Like a lot of managers are now, like the game's gone. Personally, I mean, it's interesting. I'm on a Blackburn show right now. Gary Monk should not have had a job after getting spanked 5-0 at our own place. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah. There's going to be 2 of my friends watching this, Tony and Thorpe. We drove up from, it was Southampton. We got on the train. We got our way up, I was asleep once the 2nd goal went in. It was the worst game of football I've ever seen. Those 2, Blackburn fans, best day of their life. You know what I mean? But yeah, it was. I don't think Gary Monk should have seen that out. And then later on, the last game I saw before the COVID-19 pandemic was us getting spanked 5-0 away at Brentford. Come on, how many games do we need to concede 5 goals before somebody starts asking questions? And then we came back after the brief break that we had, and we beat Bristol City, and we thought, all right, we might be levelling out. And then it just never kicked off as soon as the season started. It just never happened and never happened. So, Gary had to go, and he should have gone months before.
Is this one of your friends here? Best night out I've ever had. Matt. That's him. Yeah, Matt's always on our channel. Good on you, Matt. Matt's always good value in our watch-alongs and our live streams. So love that, Matt. I absolutely love that. So obviously after Gary Monk, you did have 1 win and 10 games with the famous Tony Pulis. So what went wrong there?
I think what became very obvious is that Tony Pulis is, I keep referring to him as a dinosaur when I do things like this. And I'm going to try and be a bit more constructive, a bit more diplomatic. Now, what Tony Pulis does, he's got a certain style of playing football. Somebody was telling stories about him on another podcast, the Under the Cosh podcast, where they were saying that the first day of training, he gets them all in, stands them in the corner of the pitch, and gets them all to loft it into a square box on the other side of the pitch. And that, that's him. That's Tony Pulis. Now, Tony Pulis comes in and goes, "This is how I play football, boyo." And we go, well, I guess that's how he plays football. He's never been relegated, because that got mentioned once or twice. And then what we found is that one of our better players, Barry Bannon, one of the best players I've ever seen with the ball at his feet, but he's there getting neck ache the entire time. So to take out a player of that, and it was very much what you'd call, what's the term, square pegs, round holes. Do you know what I mean? This is how I play football. I'm going to put you in here, regardless of the players that we actually have and getting the best out of them. It was, we're going to play Pulis ball. And he inevitably had a fallout with the chairman. That was coming. excuse me, and he went after 10 games.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, after Tony Pulis, it is Darren Moore who's been your manager since March. And first and foremost, I do want to say get well to Darren Moore as he recovers from pneumonia, post-COVID. So get well soon, Darren. But with that points deficit that Moore was trying to make up, not just in terms of the points deduction, but where you were in the table when he took over, always going to be a tough job for him to keep you up. So do you think that Moore has been appointed maybe with League One in mind, that he might be a manager to bounce you back up again?
I 100% believe that's what he was. We got him out of League One in the playoffs with Doncaster. Yay, we've taken him off our neighbours, but let's not dress it up. This is an appointment. He's probably on the same money he was at Doncaster, with a big fat bonus coming his way if he keeps us up. That's not going to happen. So for him personally, it's not out the frying pan into the fire. It's him giving it a go at a higher level. Unfortunately, he's only going to be in there a few months, given the way the season's going. And then the poor guy's been drastically ill the last couple of games. He was away for a freak result against Cardiff, where we spanked them 5-0, which is. I don't know where that came from, but the annoying thing about that is that we are capable of a result like that. We were sublime that day. And then, put into account that the Rotherham game, we lost that 2-1 in the 97th minute. They had 10 men. We drew against Bristol City at the weekend. They had 10 men. We just can't seem to put these games to bed. And we are the only team in the entire Football League that once we've gone behind, that's it.
Oh, we're the other one. Don't worry. Apart from last Friday night.
yeah. That was it up until the weekend. Until you got that result, that was it. So yeah, thanks for that. Cheers.
But Darren Moore. There's echoes actually to when Tony Mowbray took over us. So he took over us in the February actually, and couldn't save us from relegation. It probably feels a little bit like the same for Moore. If he can get you down there, kind of. Just strip everything back and maybe get you back up again. You could come up a different beast. So, good luck to Darren Moore and all of that. And, let's not dress it up. Sheffield Wednesday are a huge club. And compared to Doncaster Rovers, as much as they're your local rivals, etc., reasonable Doncaster fans will know the reason why he's taken that job. So it's a huge job, and Darren Moore's not going to turn that down. Just before we move on to the game and Wednesday as a whole, Dan, whilst we're on the topic of turmoil, I'll give my view first and then maybe yours, Dan. Jacob asks, what's yours and Dan's opinion on the Super League? Jacob, I think everything that the likes of Gary Neville and other pundits have said over social media and the TV over the last 24 hours just sum up every single football fan's view. This is an absolute disgrace. Don't agree with it in any way, shape or form. And I just really hope that all of these clubs rallying around together, players, etc., can stop this in its tracks, because it just absolutely stinks. So I really can't add anything else into the debate that hasn't been said by the likes of Gary Neville and others who have just articulated it brilliantly. Dan, I don't know if you've got anything different to add on it.
I have got loads to say on it. I'm really happy that question's been asked. Gary Neville, for me, can get so far in the bin, he can get into that maggoty bit at the bottom. The reason being is, him and his mates own Salford, sponsored by Sky Bet. He works for Sky, £15 a game, had to get that chucked out. And then he stood there talking about everybody being together and in it. Get in the bin, Gary Neville. I'm not having it. And then let's not forget what this is. Yeah, there's been a lot been said about it being a power play to try and make sure that the Champions League, because they didn't like the new format and all the rest of it. We know that's what it was. But let's just stop for a minute. Let's look at it from a fan from another country. So you've got Juventus, you've got Italy, Portugal, Belgium, all of these other countries that are literally, their leagues are terrible because all of their leagues are 2-horse races. Apart from France, where it's a 1-horse race, and Paris Saint-Germain are still managing to get that wrong right now because they're second. And what those clubs need, those 2-horse clubs, what they need is quality opposition, because people aren't interested in Eibar versus Elche or Levante, or nobody cares. So somehow somebody from these other countries has managed to convince these 6 clubs from the Premier League, whose arrogance and greed has taken over, how they've managed to convince them to be part of that, because those clubs need the Premier League, because it is the most popular league across the world. And the reason is it's not a 2-horse race. As far as let's use the Big Six example. Those 6 clubs could potentially win the league. So they need those clubs. They need that, that wedge of these big clubs to go. And there's us at the bottom of the championship with a 6-point deduction going. Crack on, lads. Do what you want. It just affects me none. You know what I mean? So I find it really funny because you've got these clubs with these big owners, and how did they not see this coming? And then Gary Neville, of all the people and all the people he works for, to become the spokesperson of it, bin.
I was because of how against it I was willing to forgo the whole Salford City thing and just think, right, what's the lesser of two evils here? And I'll talk about Salford City another day. But no, the way you've articulated that, Dad, is spot on. Yeah. But we're here to talk about Sheffield Wednesday and not that stupid Super League. So hopefully that's stopped in its tracks at the right point, and we get more spokespeople than Gary Neville, as Dan says there. So if we do look at your season in a bit of detail, we've got a little graphic that we always produce every week for the different clubs. This is Sheffield Wednesday at home this season. Understandably, for a side which are second to bottom, you are going to be lower down those metrics of goals, possession, shots per game, etc., etc. So what has been the source of, not just at home, but what's been the source of Wednesday's problems all season?
Creating chances has been really difficult. We seem to have created more. We were 24th in that table before Darren Moore took over. We've just gone, we're at the bottom of the league. Let's try and stop the goals going in. And our defence and players aren't good enough. Our recruitment's been poor to non-existent, because who wants to come to a 12-point deducted club at the start of the season? But we're just not scoring enough goals, and we're not creating enough chances. We've got son of Dean Windass, Josh, who I think on his day can be quite lethal. And then somehow we've got Callum Patterson, who looks like a telegraph pole. And, it looks like somebody who works at a car wash in Rotherham Town Centre. And for some reason, he can score goals. And he gets the ugly ones. And I don't mind him for it. He gets the ugly goals. And that's kind of, I can't say much about that. It's not pretty to watch, but the goals going in the back of the net. However, we're not creating enough of those chances. And I can tell you where it's coming from. It's Barry Bannon in the middle of the park, which is why we are conceding so many goals.
And there is a little glimmer of hope, on this graphic here. The home form, 7 wins, 7 draws and 7 defeats at home this season. And those 28 points are on a par with Rovers and our home form this season. And Hillsborough has always been a tough place to go. So is it fair for me to really simplify this and say that the points deduction and your away form is the reason you find yourself down where you are this season?
Poor managers as well. Tony Pulis coming in, ridiculous. Gary Monk still having a job after getting spanked 5-0 at home, ridiculous. It's a complete hot mess of factors, which is why we've had such a poor season. I ain't got, there's such a long list to go through of mismanaged steps that our chairman has done since he's been in charge, because he's not a football guy. He don't come, and he's surrounded himself by what he calls his people, his advisors, and they're all just people on the payroll. You know what I mean? They're people trying to look at this guy who's got a few quid and trying to take some of it for themselves. And he's going, well, my advisor said this and my advisor said that. Well, that Eric Alonso who's just put a bid in for Derby, he was one of them. And then when we took on Darren Moore, who wasn't one of Eric Alonso's clients, all of a sudden they've had a big tear up, and he's not an honourable man and all. Pal, he's just a bloke trying to earn a few quid. Stop trying to trust people who really don't care about the plight of Sheffield Wednesday. You know what I mean? These are just mercenaries. These are boxing promoters of the football world, and he's got them on the payroll, paying them a bloody salary.
So if we look at your key performers across this season, then Dan, I want to talk about 2 players who I've always rated at championship level, and that's Barry Bannon and Adam Reach. So Bannon, you can see there, 5 assists and 2 goals, and then Adam Reach has got the 5 goals and 3 assists. So big contributors to Sheffield Wednesday in an attacking sense. So firstly, how have they been this season? And secondly, have they had enough support from others in and around them?
Adam Reach is an interesting one because I actually didn't know he'd scored that many goals. He's been missing the last couple of years, Adam Reach. I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago, himself and Barry Bannon were having a goal of the season competition between them. And then now, Adam Reach just seems to have fallen away. I believe there's been whispers of some mental issues mental health issues that he's struggling through, and he does, and his weight has ballooned and gone down, and now we've got skinny Adam Reach, and there's a lot going on with Adam Reach that we just don't know as fans. I'd love to be able to pick his brains about it. I really would, and get to the bottom of it. But he's not the player he used to be. Barry Bannon, on the other hand, is a strong, passionate, gifted footballer. The problem is you have that. And this is my issue with him. You have that hero mentality, where they want to be the one that picks it up, and they want to be the one that does the work, and they want to be the one that grabs this game by the scruff of the neck and all the rest of it. And the problem is, I think personally we should be playing Bannon behind the striker as what modern footballers would call the number 10. You know what I mean? That attacking midfielder centre if you've played Football Manager. You know what I mean? Yeah. But what we've got is he plays as a deep line playmaker, and then we have another midfielder next to him who is an absolute bookend. That it's just a waste of time being there because Barry's constantly in his position. And then what Barry does, 5'3" Barry Bannon, goes back a lot, separates the defence, and then everybody's out of position. And it's not what he's there for. He's not there to try and win some big back post headers. He's not there to try and play one out from the back. He's there to spread that ball in the middle of the park. But because he's so passionate, and because he wants to be the guy that drags this, gets this game by the scruff of the neck, what's happening is we're losing a player in the defender, the midfield that we put next to him. Yeah, and it's too far for Bannon to try and get that ball on a counter. He just can't do it. You can't do it from centre back when you're 5'3".
No, and another player you've referenced him that I want to talk about, Dan, is Callum Patterson, who 7 goals, which you were surprised about Adam Reach scoring. Who, let's just say, Adam Reach scored an absolute banger at Ewood Park on Boxing Day, by the way. But Callum Patterson, 7 goals, I was quite surprised with. He just does not look like a footballer, does he? But 7 goals isn't to be sniffed at. So what does he bring to your side? And is there more than meets the eye with Callum Patterson?
Callum Patterson's an interesting player because, like you say, he doesn't play like a footballer, doesn't talk like a footballer, doesn't even look or stroll around like a footballer. But what he is some of you guys listening out there will remember our talismanic striker, 𝒕𝒕, who was fondly referred to as Big Dave. And he was just a telegraph pole. You kick the ball towards him. Nobody else could shrug a defender off and trap that ball like Big Dave could. And he was such a divisive figure for our fans. So divisive. And he finally went soft this and left, and now he's playing in Greece. And we replaced that 𝒕𝒕 with Callum Patterson, who essentially does the same job. Just that huge battering ram. I think it was a Pulis. He was a favourite of Pulis's because who fit to him? There he is. And I remember a goal he scored against Bournemouth earlier this season. If you've got the opportunity to pause this and Google it now, go and Google Callum Patterson against Bournemouth. It's hilarious. It's the worst goal anybody's ever going to score. However, Sheffield Wednesday were never getting those lucky goals. We were never getting that stroke of luck and that bounce off of somebody's backside or shoulder blade and all the rest of it. And Callum Patterson gets those, which is useful if you're also scoring the other goals. And the problem is we're not doing that either.
No, you do need a striker like that. And I always remember that equaliser by Newhu at Hillsborough. 3-3 it was. I think we were 3-1 up, and then you absolutely sucker punched us. I think it was 95th minute or something like that. And that was a season where we were close to the playoffs, and that goal did hurt a 3-3 draw at Hillsborough. And you had Michail Antonio in that game. That shows you how long ago that one was. So yeah, that was one. But we can't go past this graphic without talking about this man. Very well loved at Blackburn Rovers, Jordan Rhodes. Gilles has put it into the comments here. If Sheffield Wednesday are relegated, we can welcome Rhodesy back with open arms. So, joint top goal scorer for you this season, Dan, with those 7 goals. Recent hero for Rovers in the 3 and a bit seasons that he did have with us. But it's been a real shame to see him not establish himself as a Premier League striker in particular since leaving Rovers. He's had spells at Middlesbrough, at Norwich, and Sheffield Wednesday. To be fair, you've spent a lot on him in terms of loan fees and wages and stuff like that. So what is the view on Jordan Rhodes, and what sort of player have you seen whilst he's been at you?
Oh, where do I start with Jordan Rhodes? We as a fan base bullied Carlos Carvalho, who was in charge at the time, and the chairman, and all we ever said, Jordan Rhodes, because we knew we had a few quid and we were spending it. So we got what we asked for, and we also in the process the day before signed Sam Winnall from Barnsley. And then we got Jordan Rhodes the day after, and we kind of ruined Winnall's career a little bit because he was like the backup in case this one fell to Bobbins. But in those, 4 or 5 years now we've had Jordan, it's just not worked for him. And I've never been so gutted about that as any other player in my life, because he's such a nice bloke as well. The handwritten letters to the Middlesbrough fans that he sent, and the post-match interviews and stuff like that. I'm absolutely gutted it's just not worked for him. Having said that, this season, and under Darren Moore specifically, he seems to have found a little bit of form, and that's because he's had a run in the team. What you got with Jordan Rhodes, I think it was him and Rudiger Stead up front, wasn't it? And you had 2 big guys there smashing the goals in. And we've got a way that football should be played in this country now. It's the 4-1-3-2, 4-5-1, or however you want to say it now. It's not 4-4-2 anymore, which is what Rhodes and Gestead played. And the teams were built around those 2 strikers, and they were very good and a hell of a partnership. And Rhodes has done well when he's got a strike partner, like Callum Patterson, for example, like your big Dave Pryor. But because he's not scored straight away as he's come in the team, he's just not performed. I would love to actually see the statistics on Rhodes' minutes per goal. You know what I mean? It's same with Newhugh as well, because they were for a long time bit part strikers. Come on for the last 10 minutes and see if they can nab a goal, which is not what any striker wants. And then we had Lucas Yao, who fell out of favour, that you guys know, and all of a sudden started scoring goals for you lot. Now we've sold him; he started scoring goals for Reading. We had 6 strikers at one point, so Rhodes never got a run in the team, and they all left last season. And then now we've got Elias Kachunga, who's as much use as a chocolate fireguard, handbrake on a canoe, anything that you want to pick, and so he's had a bit of vein in the team. I'm happy to see that he's got a couple of goals this season, but it's his last year in his contract, and I'd be very surprised if we offer him another one. However, Jordan Rhodes in League One, I would snap your hand off.
So just as you were talking there, Dan, I did just do a quick calculation on the Who Scored website. So he's played 1,281 minutes this season, which for comparison, Callum Patterson has played more than double that, as has Josh Windass, and got the same amount of goals. So Jordan Rhodes' goal minutes per goals is 183 minutes. So that's like a 1-in-2 ratio, which isn't bad. But I think you're absolutely right to draw out what you said about Rhodes. At Huddersfield before Rovers, and especially at Rovers, we built our side around him. He was the talisman. He was our star signing. He had Craig Conway on one wing, putting crosses in. He had Ben Marshall on the other wing. He had Gestead, who could obviously knock it down, as you say. And we had Tom Kearney at some point as well, able to play through balls. So he had a lot of service in our side. And I think when he left Rovers, he just was never that striker who teams built their sides around. And as he's got that little bit older, managers are probably looking at that and going, actually, are we going to build our side around this striker? He's in his 30s now as well. That ship has probably sailed. And it's a real shame, because I'm like you. He's been one of my favourite players of all time for Rovers, and really joined us at a really difficult spell. And he was a bit of a beacon of hope. And I would have loved to have seen him succeed in the Premier League. Whenever I played Football Manager, he always ended up top goal scorer in the Prem for like 6 seasons in a row. And I do believe he was destined for that in some way, shape or form. And it just didn't work out for him. Just a real clinical finisher, and a real shame, as you say. So hopefully, we'll see where Rhodes ends up next. There is little rumours about Rovers. Rovers fans, let us know what you think. Would you take him? If the price was right. I can see some of you in the comments there, but yes or no, would you take Rhodes back? So moving on then, Dan, as we always do on the show with the fans who we get on, I have asked you to pick your predicted 11 for the game tomorrow. Just talk us through the side. Obviously, you've got that there as a 3-4-2-1 formation. So talk us through back to front, who's going to hurt Rovers and where are the areas of weakness where we could exploit you?
Who's going to hurt? Okay, so the exploitative areas are that back four there: Westwood, Hutchinson, Lees and Borner. Hutchinson is a defensive midfielder that's made of Lego. Julian Borner, lethal on a corner, can't defend. Tom Lees, one of the most Jekyll and Hyde players that we've had at Hillsborough the last few years. Honestly, sometimes he's absolutely obscene and sometimes he's absolutely dreadful. Liam Palmer is an interesting one. He's a bit of a stalwart. Been with us for a number of years, local lad, all the rest of it, but he's just an average fullback. Like, you know what I mean? He just does what he needs to. He's got better over the years. He was very much maligned about 4 or 5 years ago, but it seems to have he's bulked out a little bit and he's settled into that role. He's no Ryan Nyambe, for example. Adam Reach plays too deep when he's in that 5-3-2-1 role. I feel that he's better when he's on the attacking midfield, but because we've got Windus and Harris, those attacking midfielder positions are you know, they're taken up. But for me, I think Windass and Patterson up front in a 4-4-2 would be better. I dropped Kadeem Harris like third period French because he's got no end product. I likened him on Twitter the other day to like a Lidl value cornetto, because like the best thing about a cornetto is that little bit at the end. You know, that little chocolatey bit that you get. And because he's Lidl value, he's got the end product of a Lidl value cornetto. You know what I mean? It's just, it looks like he's going to tear the world apart, and he just doesn't. And then
I really love that analogy. That is so good.
Yeah. And then Callum Patterson up front just to try and bully some people, see if we can get some goals. But it's very much probably how we're going to set up. It wouldn't surprise me to see Jordan Rhodes in place of Callum Patterson, but I think we might drop 𝒓𝒔𝒂𝒕 and put Sam Hutchinson in that role, and then have Palmer and Reach as fullbacks. But it could happen. We're at home. See what happens. It depends what Darren Moore's thinking from his hospital bed right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And just whilst we're on the topics of side, Stephen, you asked me earlier, do you think we should play the 23s tomorrow? Yeah, I want to see as many of the 23s now before the end of the season. We covered it on the watch along on Friday against Derby, that when you ran through that starting 11, there is not many of them that will be with Rovers next season when you think about contracts ending or loans finishing, etc. So we need those 23s getting some game time now. Let's use these 4 games to get them blooded a little bit and hopefully leave us in a better stead for next season. So, yeah, I want to see them. I don't know if any of you are watching the under-23s now against Liverpool. I don't know how many of the likely candidates are playing now, so that might put paid to any 23s tomorrow. But maybe there's the likes of Dan Pike and others that might well get a game time tomorrow. So, yeah, I want to see them, Stephen. Absolutely. So, Dan, Rovers are seemingly safe now. And if Wednesday are to stay up, it is now or never. Is this a game that you're targeting as a must-win if you are going to do the Great Escape? We are still just 2 wins in 16. So you are due some revenge from that 5-0 victory that you mentioned as well. So can you see you just really going for this game in that spirit of we've got to win it if we're going to stay up?
I think we're going to be doing that on every game that we've got coming up. I literally think every game's our cup final. It has been for the last 3 or 4 fixtures minimum. Losing the lead against Bristol City at the weekend hit us very hard because a couple of the results went our way and we'd have closed that gap from 8 to 5 and it would have been great. The problem is Coventry picking up the odd win. Birmingham don't seem to want to die. Derby are bloody rubbish. Why Wayne Rooney's taken on that job, I will never understand because I think it's going to absolutely ruin his managerial career before it's even started. I think he'll become a bit of a laughingstock after that. Every game's a cup final, and I think it'd be very reckless to try and go and smash everybody. But sod it, we're going down anyway. Let's go down fighting. Why not? Let's put 3 up front. Get Rhodes, Patterson, and Windass up front. Let's just hoof it. See what happens. Why not?
And have you got Derby to play?
Yeah, we've actually got them on the last game of the season. So given how the next 3 games could go, you're the Blackburn game included, that Derby game could be absolutely massive. But Rotherham's game in hands are something that really concerns me. But the problem is, they played one of those games in hand and lost to bloody Coventry, who were down there with us. We need them. You know what I mean? I'd be happy for Rotherham to start picking points up and just get out of the way. Let's see who's really coming down. Let's get those game in hands out the way.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the table now. See, 7 points off Derby, and goal difference wise, you're only -3 off Derby. So, if you were to beat them on the final day and things, goal difference may or may not equal out. But you are 7 behind Rotherham in those 2 games in hand. So, yeah, it's all on those Rotherham games in hand, really, as well as your own results, of course. But I wouldn't say it's impossible. If you were to beat Rovers tomorrow and Derby didn't win, you would just be 4 points behind Derby. So it'd start getting interesting if you were to beat Rovers tomorrow. So, yeah, I was just looking at that thinking that just has the feel of a game that Wednesday have just got to go and hit. And I'd probably go as far as saying if you don't win tomorrow, then it's probably it, isn't it? Probably curtains in that regard. So a really important game for you. So you can tell me to F off if you want. Are you going to stay up or are you going to reserve judgment on that?
I think a lot of the fan base have already consigned ourselves to relegation. I'm intrigued to see what players we're going to get rid of because we do need an absolute clean through. We've got Cameron Dawson, we've got Westwood, and we've got Wildsmith all in our goal, and they're all rubbish. I mean, Dawson conceded 5-1 off the post on the back of his head. I think was it against you guys at the 5-0 drubbing, wasn't it? You know what I mean? They're all rubbish. Westwood's been kicked out of the club by, they've been dropped to the reserves twice by 2 different managers. Like, come on. We need an absolute start again. We need to really empty the barrel out and fill it up again with some new water because whatever's happening, the dressing room's been lost. And regardless of what Darren Moore can do, I think it's already gone. If we stay up, that'd be nice. I'd be happy for Darren Moore to get his bonus. But I think that, especially that late conceded goal against Bristol City at the weekend, I think that's really done us. I think that's pretty much curtains for us.
Yeah, that was a sickening goal, that one, a bit like the Fulham goal against Arsenal, wasn't it? Or the Arsenal goal against Fulham. So, yeah, a bit of a sickener. Well, Rovers are a club, Dan, that if you are going to come up, we've shown that you can get relegated with a poor squad. Our squad was poor. Rovers fans on this channel will remember we had the likes of Danny Guthrie, Hope Akpan, Gordon Greer, Liam Feeney. These were all players that were in our squad, which to the respect of them, they weren't good enough to keep us up. And we had that overhaul and we had a real good squad that we came up with the likes of Bradley Dack, who we signed, of course, Richie Smallwood, and that off-field stuff that you were talking about, that team spirit. Mowbray really did build that at our club in that League One season. And it is a real shame that in recent weeks that seems to have eroded, or certainly from the fan perspective is that it's eroded. But it can be done, Dan, if you get it right and have that clean out and sign the right players. And Darren Moore does strike me as the right manager to do that, actually.
I agree. Yeah. I agree with you entirely. And I think Saints did the same as well. They were in League One with a 10-point deduction and all the rest of it. And they managed to find out their Ricky Lamberts and all the players that took them up, and they went sailing up the leagues. You guys went straight back up. Was it straight back up or were you 2 seasons down there?
No, straight back. Straight
back. And then Norwich as well. Norwich is a really interesting one because they got relegated. Delia ran out of money, but because of the farce of the parachute system and all the rest of it, they've gone down, come back up with the parachute money and then the promotion money. They're now loaded. You know what I mean? That's actually the best way to go for a club like Norwich to try and maintain Premier League status. So, hopefully we can get these contracts off because the biggest thing about League One that gives me the biggest concern is the wage cap, because there's now a wage cap there, isn't there? We can't afford a Jordan Rhodes if there's a wage cap. Hopefully there'll be plenty of clauses and all the rest of it to try and protect ourselves, but I think it's gonna be difficult.
Yeah, and to be fair, the wage cap, that's where Rovers did get lucky because we did spend a bit in that division. Charlie Mulgrew at League One level, that is a fair wage that you play in. Bradley Dack choosing Rovers when he's arguably the best League One talent at that point. We were obviously financially in better competition than everyone else. So I think that is fair to drag out that wage cap, most certainly, Dan. So we have reached the part of the show then, Rovers fans, where I'm going to ask you to put your score prediction into that comments box. How do you think the game is going to go tomorrow? What type of game are you expecting at Hillsborough tomorrow? Your first reminder, the game is 7 p.m. kickoff. Remember, 7 p.m. kickoff. So remember that early kickoff time. Dan, whilst the Rovers fans do load the comments with their score predictions, I'm going to ask you for yours. So how do you think the game is going to go?
I just literally, you've got the first one there. It says 1-1. I think the best we can ask for is a draw, given the way where we are, and and trying to put a positive spin on it. 1-1. I think we'll score early, and then we'll chuck it away at the end of the game, and it's going to feel like a loss because of where we are in the league. But 1-1 or a Desmond. And
that's what's come in the comments there. Whilst I wait for some more to come in, I think I'm feeling a draw as well. It's just got the feel that, don't get me wrong, it would not surprise me in the slightest if Rovers went and won these last 4 games after the rigmarole and the journey we've all had. And I say the word journey with tongue in cheek because that's what Tony's been telling us for the last few weeks. But the fans since February, since that QPR defeat, have been through a journey. And it would just not surprise me if we finish the season with 5 wins in a row. And it's kind of, what was all the fuss about then? But it feels like it's going to be a bit, I don't know, Wednesday might huff and puff a bit. You might leave some spaces for Rovers to attack. We might play with a bit more freedom and a bit of confidence, but still be loose at the back. So, I can see a draw. And, I can see 2-2. I think that's can see high scoring. I think you're going to throw it at some point. The kitchen sink will be thrown at Rovers at one point, and I don't know who's playing who at what point tomorrow and whether you'll be able to see what results are coming in, but I'm assuming Derby or whoever will be playing at the same time, and I do just wonder whether Wednesday might well lob it at us. So 2-2. I'm going Desmond as well, 2-2. So Rovers fans, you have put in your predictions. Mark was first in with a 1-1. TNYKN has gone 1-0. Is that your other mate?
Yeah, that's Tony. That's the other lad. I'm surprised he's not written 5-0. But big shout to Matt and Tony, who are two northern exiles of northern clubs that I'm never going to take to Hillsborough again. We're going to do Pompey away or something. I'll take them there.
I did see his comment earlier. What a day that was in reference to the 5-0. So there you go. I did see his comment earlier, Tony. I'm sorry. So Tony says 1-1 as well. Scrolling back down, Steve has gone for a 2-2, literally. Leap year man 2-2 as well. Alexander, love it. You're the first to predict a Rovers win, 3-2. Well done, Alexander. Gilles has gone, I want to say 2-1, but 1-1 seems fair. No, go for 2-1, Gilles. Don't let us put you off. You think Rovers are going to win, it's going to happen. Stephen, 5-0 Rovers, lol.
I was going to say they're very conservative guesses, given when we play each other, we tend to get battered. There's always goals in our games, actually. I must admit, 3-2 wouldn't be the worst thing to happen, or even 3-3. I mean, I remember being a kid and watching you spank us 7-2. I think Benito Carbone scored one of the best goals I've ever seen. But we conceded 7.
Bizarre game ever. It really was a bizarre game, that one. And Steve is absolutely, here we go. Steve's absolutely right to draw this one. We will score another goal of the season contender because this always happens, Dan. We announce it and then someone bangs in a worldie that should get goal of the season. So that's the prediction. Maybe someone like Joe Rothwell to score a 35-yarder or something daft like that. So there we go. Thank you, Rovers fans. And Dan, thanks for coming on the channel tonight and giving your views about Wednesday. I know it's not the most positive at the moment, but, Wednesday are a club that I've got a huge amount of respect for. So if you do end up in League One, it can be done. You can come back and hopefully those days will come back for you. But Darren Moore's the right man to do it for you, I think. I think that feels like a good fit.
I've just thought this could be my first and last time on this show for about 2 years.
Oh, don't say that. We'll have you back. FA Cup, League Cup. You'll be back on at some point. Or you can join us on a watch-along, if it's Wednesday I'm playing.
Just sit there getting 5-0 pinged at me for the rest of the game. Yeah, I got it.
There we go. But Rovers fans, I said it earlier, it is a 7 p.m. kickoff tomorrow, so we'll be live on the watch-along at about 6:30. So join me, Joe, and Luke for the watch-along, as we always do. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please hit that subscribe button. Please turn on all notifications using that bell icon and give this video a huge like and all of our other videos across the Rovers Chat channel. The under-23s are still playing. I'll just do a quick score check whilst I'm here. Oh, literally, Liverpool have just scored. As I click on that, it is 2-2. So that's a shame. Hopefully, Rovers can find that win. Dan, I'll say a big thank you to you and enjoy the rest of your evening and enjoy the game tomorrow. And Rovers fans, I will leave you with two things. Our sponsor message, Blue Rose Capital. And I'll leave you with the outro, our sponsor message from 𝒐𝒗𝒆𝒔 See you later, everyone.
The Rovers Chat YouTube channel is proudly sponsored by 𝒐𝒗𝒆𝒔 They've got retro football from every era with mugs, phone cases and much more. They also have plenty of Rovers goods including apparel with the famous 94-95 season and this season's kit. Check them out using the link in the description below.